If you consistently stay, if you consistently stay in the stock market, guess what? You get great returns. And if you consistently stay with Legal Shield, you consistently use this membership, and you consistently show up. I loved, what they talked about the other day was quite interesting. How they took a segment right out of your book, sir, where they talked about the three-legged stool, when they talked about showing up, personal development, and activity. And that was the crux, and that was the foundation for growing this business. Well, listen, they established a new normal. We established a new foundation over these last several days. I had the opportunity to not only listen to the big news or the big event on Saturday, but also listen to Mr. Darnell Self present this information the other night, Mr. Brian Carruthers, as well as Mr. John Hoffman. And so hearing all three of these veterans, 24 years and beyond, like yourself, sir, I know that we are definitely in the right place at the right time. And it's time to just buckle in and really understand the definition of the meaning of the word commitment, because a lot of folks are committing right now to get things done, but you got to be able to stick through the commitment. When the emotion is gone, the excitement is gone, and when life becomes normal, which can bring you, to a whole bunch of different places, that you stay, focused on what the future is. And I'm looking so forward to it, sir. And back to you.
Well, Timmer, I appreciate you and your wisdom, and any Millionaire Club member that speaks. It's time to pull out a pen and paper. I love your comments. You talk about a new normal, and you talk about the three legs, which is, showing up, doing the activity, and practicing personal development. And here's the thing, those legs get compounded in times of bear or bull markets. When the timing's right and you do those three things, it compounds everything. And so you reference commitment, and we have two people on tonight who I've gotten to watch be committed. As I said, I was in Kentucky for 10 years, and Kentucky, for those that don't know it, we kind of are the neighbors of Cincinnati. And because of that, I spent a lot of time in Cincinnati and got to know the two individuals. We worked together as, what were we? MVPs in the different states. And I just watched them, go through the different tracks of executive director and solidify that and figure out their relationship together and figure out their positions and figure out leading in Ohio. And they did that. And they did it with other things going on in their lives. And if you know their stories, some of that, dealing with elderly parents, dealing with different issues going on with family. We all deal with it, but they stayed committed. They kept doing it. They kept growing. And now if you go to the latest copy of Profiles of Success 2022, and then flip to page 81, you've got Rob and April Hurst, $200,000 ring earners. April, I know you've been part of the Ladies of Justice. I know you wrote a book, Women on Fire. I'm a man. I read the book and got on fire. Great book. And Rob, I got to tell you, you're one of the best trainers in the company. You both are. And I've gotten to watch you both grow. And that's such a huge part of this business. And so to be able to be, as I feel like, on the field or on the sidelines, observing both of you as you've grown from $50,000 ring to now 200,000 and all the accolades, everything you're doing. It's an honor to have you both, not just one of, either one of you could be on and we got a home run, but you're both on. So it's like a double header with home runs in both games. So I want to start out by asking you both, you were in Dallas. I was scheduled, I was booked, I had my flight, something came up, I ended up not being there, but I had eyes and ears there. And tonight we got your eyes and ears. I want to start by asking you, where is this company right now from your opinions, given all you've been through? Over to you, Rob and April, and thank you for being with us.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Drennan. It is such an honor to be here tonight. Mr. Drennan and I go way back. We have shared a lot of memories together. He was the first one who told me, when I asked him, if you want to go, I said, Mr. Drennan, if there's one piece of advice you could give me to go ED, what would it be? This is around still part-time. And he said, I think it's time for you to start your own lunch in April. And guess what? I'm going back to that, Mr. Drennan. Okay, I am going back to that because it worked so good. I'm gonna do it again to go to the next level. And so really honored to be here, Success Partners, and many of the amazing faces that I see here and have learned from over the years. So to answer your question, I'll let Rob chime in too. We are in what I would like to think of as like a clean slate, right? We're in a clean slate phase. For the company, but we're in a clean slate phase for us too. And that's a beautiful thing because maybe you look back over the last 3 to 5 years and you're really excited about what has happened in your business. Or maybe you look back over the last 3 to 5 years and you may or may not be that excited about what's happened in your business. Or maybe you're just getting started. You're like, I don't even know what these folks are talking about, but they're so excited. So it doesn't matter where you are. You have the ability to be in like launch pad phase, right? Like you can truly relaunch your business. And we just got off Mr. Carruthers' call, and that's what Coach Fart Bell trained on is relaunching yourself. So for those of you who don't know his story, Coach Fart Bell is a $150,000 ring earner when he had dropped all the way down to, I believe, director or senior director, and he was trying to rebuild his business. And he said, I relaunched myself. So what does that look like relaunching yourself? We're going to talk about that. But he said, I relaunched myself. And that's what we all have the ability to do right now. I'll let Mr. Hurst talk about that because he's the launch king. But that's what we all have the ability to do right now. So I see it as a clean slate. You have a totally fresh new launch pad that you can relaunch yourself. So Rob, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Drennan, having us on here. So here's what I'll say. I believe our company as a whole went through a transformation as well as other businesses did as well during the pandemic. And what I love to say is that we have skills that we didn't have before the pandemic. We can now do this virtual. I mean, there's so many other things that we're able to do now. So I feel like if you have adjusted and you've made you were able to pivot and learn this process, you are now the 2.0 version of who you were before. I'm definitely not. I mean, I'm telling you, like if I was to get in a time machine and go back 3 years before all this happened, I would be like, oh my gosh, like I was really not as, I wasn't ahead like I am today, right? And the situation forced us to move with the cheese. And so now the company had to go through a process of repaving what we do and how we do it. And now we have a clean track, as she said, a clean slate to run. All you got to do is lace up your track shoes and take advantage, because now they've just put a lot more fuel on the fire. Things are starting to open up now, as Mrs. Hurst said, she's going to start a luncheon, but she has the ability to do something virtual and in person, which is something we weren't doing before, right? So I just kind of want to keep pointing that out. Like we have the ability to do so many things. So now when we bring on a new person, the launch process is a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? We have other ways to approach it. Before it was like, well, do a PBR, do this, do that. Now we have the other things that we can do to engage more people, to go ahead and not only relaunch ourselves, but relaunch new people. So with everything being said, I just think we're at a perfect time right now with what we have. We're still the 800-pound gorilla in the legal industry, right? So we still dominate. And so now all we got to do is put our jerseys on, get on the field, and go play.
Rob, as you're talking there, I think back to where some of us were doing PCCs before COVID. Yeah. That was ahead of the curve because what we were doing with briefings, luncheons, and that PCC, we were kind of ready for that. So when COVID came, the practice had been put in place. So I love both your comments. And April, you said way back, you're trying to lock in ED, and you asked me that advice. And I want to give everyone the acronym ADD, to add your business, ADD. If you track what April said, she asked, then she decided, she heard and decided, and then she did. So she asked, decided, and did, and she did those luncheons, and that was a contributor to her progress. So everybody listening here, I like to always pull what are the highlights of what got said. And one highlight was clean slate. And I love that because whether you're brand new or been here for years, it's a clean slate based on that timing. Secondly is relaunch ourselves. And any one of us, if we want different results than what we've gotten, it requires a relaunch. You can't get different results being the exact same person in place. So that's huge. And Rob, you're right about the skills. A lot of people develop skills without knowing it. I mean, they could reflect back and say, you're right. I didn't ever use Zoom. Now I'm pretty good on Zooms. And just so many things have changed in 2 years. And so that 2.0 version is really a good visual. So I want to come back to you both and say, okay, you gave a couple sort of high level statements there. What are you advising your team right now? What are you coaching? I'd love for these folks to hear what is it you're saying to them?
You want me to go first, Rob?
You go first.
Okay. So first of all, we have done some pretty extensive inventory effective last month. So when we say inventory, we allowed our team to opt in to what we call focus groups. And so we have 3 focus groups that we've been working with for the last 30 days. And I'll let Rob tell the stats on the power of the focus groups here in a second. But we have 3 focus groups. One is the core rank group. So these are people that are associate, senior associate. They're trying to get to manager. Then we have our manager factory group. These are people that are at manager, but they're working to work their way through the comp plan up to senior director ED, right? And then we have the Go ED group. And these are people that are mostly at director, right? So those 3 focus groups that we started that last month, actually. And the stats, which I'll have Rob tell you in just a second, because he has the numbers of the people who were in the focus group and the people who are not, the numbers don't lie. The numbers don't lie, but they had to opt in and say, yes, I want to be a part of this. It wasn't because we have a volunteer army, y'all. Okay. We have a volunteer army. So what those focus groups are focused on is ultimately rank advancement, right? That's what the whole thing is. Bonuses will come and go. You know, that stuff changes. New trips come and go. But what never changes is rank advancement. So what we're doing is we have our team focused on whatever their highest rank that they want to get to by December 31st. So we started that in September. So we have a little bit of momentum going into this month with these new enhancements. So Rob, I'll let you chime in on the stats and some of the specific conversations of what we're doing right now. But I will say the big thing that we're doing right now is helping everybody understand you need to launch yourself to manager this month. You go manager. Even if you're an ED, you go manager personally. Okay. And so that's a big thing. It's just you go manager. But Rob, I'll let you share the stats from the focus groups and some specific actions.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm gonna give you some numbers. So last month, like she said, we threw it out there and said, hey, we want to, really, we're gonna have these different focus groups, which she just talked about. And the numbers show that those that were in a focus group outperformed those that weren't by 80%. 80% of production came from those that were in the focus group. 80%. 75% of the recruiting came from the focus group. 75%. 100% of the small business production came from the focus groups. 100%. And so those are things I kind of noticed. I kind of looked at the numbers. I was like, man. And so now, we've had some people who've probably been a little hesitant, and we're just going to keep running the play. We're going to keep telling the numbers, because at the end of the day, this team is winning, right? If you want to be a part of, and so what it did for those that are in the club, because we call it the club, the core rank club, the manager factory club, the Go ED club. Now it's people want to be a part of the club. And then even in a manager factory, I'll be honest with you all, the manager factory is probably one of my favorite groups to work with, because they're a little bit more committed from what the Go ED group is obviously committed as well. But the manager factory, they're hungry, right? Because they haven't hit director and senior director, they haven't been there yet. So for them, they're like, I'm trying to get my structure. So the whole objective is for them to get their 4 manager legs and be in PC Pro, and then they can move to the next group. So they're invited to the next club once they accomplish that. So now the challenge is, who's going to be the first one out the group? And then once they move from one group to the next, they become an ambassador of the group they left. So we can even have them come back and share tips where we're, passing and transferring leadership to those that are graduating through the clubs. And I'll throw this last piece in there. What I also did with the Manager Factory, we also make a distinction at what, and it could be manager and senior manager, by the way, because you got some people who are senior manager, they don't have a structure either. But to create a distinction, you're not just a manager if you have 1 manager leg, you're a 1-star manager. If you have 2 manager legs, you're a 2-star manager. If you have 3, you're a 3-star manager. 4. So now it's like, oh my gosh, I'm a 1-star manager, or I'm a 2-star. Like there's some pride behind that. And then for those that are just at manager, like, wow, I need to get my 1-star. And so now everybody's focused on creating their structure so they can level up to the next rank.
So one other thing I'll mention before we turn it back to you, Mr. Drennan, is Mr. Self had talked to us about these focus groups in a 2-on-1 we had with him back in December. Like last December, we had a call with him, a mentoring call. And he's like, you guys, I did these focus groups. So like we were tossing it around, but we really hadn't executed on it yet. And so, I don't know, maybe we're not as quick to the starting line as other leaders are.
Well, I think we tried, but we didn't have like a good idea or a picture of what that would mean for us.
That's true.
Yeah.
It wasn't crystallized, but we crystallized it. And once we crystallized it, the proof is in the pudding. But for all groups, Mr. Drennan and team, all groups, it's you go manager. Okay. That's what everybody, you go manager. Okay. No matter what your rank is, you go manager, because y'all, the entire compensation plan is based upon manager, right? But some people went manager years ago, right? And so that's really what we're coaching them on what to do right now.
You're saying do it again. Do it again.
Correct. Do it again.
Yeah. And so we've already established, you ask, you're coachable, you listen. And now what I hear, again, you're coachable. I mean, you're on this call with Mr. Self, but you're also discerning. Because once you have a team and you've gotten to a certain point, you have to process through, what am I hearing here? Because to start moving that into a team is a big deal versus when you're small and new. So I just think you're discerning. That's part of your growth. And I'll tell you, it started with April saying we took inventory, and every time, and people on here have heard us talk about this many times, after every big event, you take inventory, you start with who was at the event, and that's where you put your focus. Then from there, you go who was not at the event, but is most productive. Then you put your focus there. And so you started with that. And then the focus groups, I was gonna ask, was that your original idea? Because I know over the years, I've done a lot of team calls at different levels, but it's the first time I heard the focus groups laid out with the core rank, the manager factory, and the Go ED, and then adding the stars. I just think that's phenomenal. So sounds like you got the idea from Mr. Self, but knowing you two, you've created it for yourself and your teams. I've seen you, and many on this call came to events you guys ran. I know you did it together, but April, I got to say, you're one of the best event coordinators I've ever seen. And you guys did amazing events in Cincinnati, some of those big super Saturdays and things. So, and then the numbers don't lie, those percentages, Rob, that you gave. So, and then concluding with the idea of just everyone going manager, I think is great coaching. So let me ask you this. This is more into the how-to, but you both have done such a great job onboarding new associates. And there are some things now that they're not promotions. They're now concrete in our plan that we can count on, not changing in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. So right now, will you just both maybe share the best of what you have to offer for anyone here who enrolls a new associate today? Best coaching for helping that new person be onboarded.
Well, I was ready.
You are ready. I'm like, where'd that come from? He's ready.
All right. So these are just 6 areas that we focus on when somebody's brand new. Like, in fact, I'm getting somebody launched in about 30 minutes out in California. So the one thing that we focus on when someone is brand new, number one, we want to get those welcome calls, and we need to do that as soon as possible. We need those welcome calls to happen just so they can see it from other people's eyes, and they have so many other stories and proof of what has already happened. That way, when someone challenges them and they're like, if they don't have enough stories or enough proof or other people's success to lean on, it could put them in not in a position of power if they're interacting with someone who may necessarily be negative. Okay. So the 3 welcome calls are super important. It helps to keep the trains on the track. And we like to do that immediately. Like, as soon as somebody signs up, welcome call. Like, we're not waiting. We're trying to find somebody we can connect them with so they can get a chance to meet other people on the team. Number 2 is we want to get them started on the first step link. So we send them to pplsifirststep.com. So I'm giving them an assignment out the gate. Need you to go ahead and watch this. Thank goodness the company has condensed it down to 4 simple videos, 3 minutes apiece. So they could be done with that in about 15 minutes, at least the video portion. Then at that point, we reconnect. Let's talk about the list, where we help them make their list. And what we're trying to do is identify the top 3 in their list, right? And here's the reason why the top 3 is super important. The reason why the top 3 is so important, because those are the people, more than likely, that can actually talk them out of the business. So, we believe in being involved in the interaction with those top 3. So the woman I'm working with right now out of California, we're meeting with her dad. I want to be involved in that conversation because I don't have as much influence as her dad has on her. And if I let her talk to her dad on her own, if her dad is not necessarily supportive or could be negative, this could be a negative impact. Let me give you an example. We had a young man who got started also out of California, and we had him identify. He made this list. I said, who's your top 3? He said, well, my mom, my grandma, his dad, and with somebody else. And I said, great. What we're going to do is we're going to reach out to those 3. I want you to send this quick text. The text basically says, hey, you free to chat in a few. I have something, my partner and I have something we want to run by you. Figured you'd be a great person to share this idea with. So immediately, when you have a closer relationship with somebody, they're calling them immediately or texting them like, yeah, what's up? Because they have that relationship with them. So it's not weird. Once we make the phone call, I said, once they text or call you, go ahead and 3-way me in, and then you're going to introduce me as your managing partner. So once we do that, I'll pretty much say, hey, listen, he's in training. Part of his training is to have a few people take a look at some information that he trusts, get their honest feedback, and also see if it's something that you may know others that could benefit from it. They're like, okay, great. We hop on the Zoom. So here's what happened. I hopped on the Zoom with his mom and his grandma. I showed them the information, basically the membership presentation. They both signed up. So that gentleman had his first 2 signups the first day in the business. He was FASTR qualified in his first 48 hours, just to kind of give you an example. So we're very involved with the top 3 to make sure that the ball doesn't get off track. And then the other part to that is, what do we do with the rest of the list? So we're inviting everybody else to the grand opening, the grand virtual opening, where we'll invite them to the Zoom. So we have a script for that. But basically, somebody's off mute. I think it's the person with the dog on there.
We're working on it.
Sure, Ashton. Okay. Yeah. So we booked 3 Zooms. We say 3 Zooms in 3 days. And the reason why I have saw the value of doing 3 Zooms in 3 days is that it just helps the process move faster, because the longer it takes to do something, the less important it is. And so what we do is we'll say, hey, listen, we've had many people who've gotten successfully started. They've gotten FASTR qualified in X amount of days or X amount of hours. Here's what they did. They did a power launch. They're like, well, what's a power launch? I said 3 Zooms in 3 days. Now, it doesn't always happen in 3 days because everybody's schedule is different, but we push. That's the standard. Let's get 3 Zooms in 3 days. And so what we'll do is we'll say, hey, here's what I have open. I have Tuesday at 7 open. I have Wednesday, so we just go ahead and lay it out, and we let them know what we have versus asking them what do they have. because, you want to be the person, the authoritative, or not the person, the authoritative person, but you're the success coach. And people will move their schedule around to work with a success coach. Because at the end of the day, what I'll ask them, I'll say, listen, here's what happened for this person. Would you like us to work with you the same way? They're like, absolutely. So now we don't have to push and pry. They're already giving you permission to move them forward. And then we go ahead and schedule those 3 Zooms in 3 days. And then we just have a script that they invite people to the Zoom and do the presentations and do it over again for the next person. Last part is get them plugged in. So we want to get them plugged in for their fast start and also the team call. And then the other thing that Mrs. Hurst and I have added, we want to help them get their first experience with the product in 72 hours or less. I need you to believe in this product. And the other part to this, Mr. Drennan, the reason why we push this, because I need their testimony on their Zoom. So I need you to come off and tell your family, your friends, man, I'm in the process of getting my will done, or I just talked to the law firm and they're helping me do X, Y, and Z. And what we've seen is like, it really helps engage their guests. Like, wow, now it's not just some strange guy who's talking about this service. Now their friend who invited them on is like, no, guys, I'm using this. And what I share with them, I say, listen, you got to understand, like if we were selling a diet product, when they want to know that you lost a little weight, right? They want to know your results. And so we want to be able to have that experience so they can share. So again, 3 welcome calls, have them do the first step, make their list to identify the top 3, which will be involved with that. And then we book the Zooms, right? We just schedule them and then we get them plugged in and get them on track to using their product.
That was so good. And I hope everyone took a picture of that slide. Kind of working backwards, what you just said. I know your story is so compelling where with your identity theft story, you had police at your door during movie night one night. And that was traumatic. Not everyone has a traumatic story, but whatever your story, I still tell the story from 24 years ago where I got Legal Shield and called and was able to get $200 that was owed to me that I had given up on. That was a game changer and people can relate to that. So that's so important. But wow, again, to highlight what you just talked about, first of all, your slide said launch with urgency. And the urgency is a key word. And everything you talked about had urgency. And talking about, first of all, those 3 welcome calls. And, we see people get resistant in this business to do 3-way calls. Well, welcome call is a 3-way call. It's just another version of how we use it. And to require that 3 times is just huge because now you're introducing that new person who might feel kind of alone and scared and not have a lot of support. They've all of a sudden got 3 more people, 4 total, that are on their side. And then making the list and finding the top 3. You said something I don't ever remember sharing with anybody, but it's really brilliant because it's usually those first 3. Hey, it's my brother, my best friend, and my mom. They're the ones that can talk you out of it. Like, I can't believe you're doing that.
Exactly.
And they'll pay attention. So if you're there, and then as you were saying that, I thought back to how many times I was there, many times I wasn't, but how many times I was to protect the new person from that.
Exactly.
So, man, that was huge. And be involved with those first 3. Then the next one you said is, now it's sort of the generic Zoom, and let's do 3 in 3 days. I love that 3 in 3 days. So it's no wonder you guys rock in terms of your onboarding numbers, and then get them plugged into the fast start, get them plugged into showing up, using the membership. So I love that. April Hurst, anything you want to add to what just got shared there?
The only other thing I would add is the power of the enhancements to the comp plan and us as sponsors painting the vision of what they can create here long term, right? So, I think the way the bonus structure was previously, it was kind of like got people excited in the beginning and then it kind of like fizzled, right? Well, now what it's doing is it's painting a vision of the up rank, right? Like, this isn't just about going senior associate, faster qualifying, and manager. This is about painting a vision of what they're going to be able to create for their life. For those of us who have been around for a while, I didn't get a bonus when I went senior associate, and I didn't get a bonus when I went manager.
Wait, how are those 2 related?
Right? So it's like, it's totally different, right? And so it's great that people are getting bonuses in their first, couple of months of getting started. But we really, this comp plan, which is what I love, what they have restructured it where it helps us to help them focus on the long-term vision of what they can create here. So it's our job as sponsors and rising stars and leaders to paint that for them. And so when we're doing that game plan interview, which obviously we don't have time to go through all that tonight, but when we do game plan interviews, yes, talking to them about what we can help them create in their first 30, 60, 90 days, but what do you want your life to look like in 3 to 5 years? What do you want your life to look like? Oh man, I want to be traveling. I want to be this. I want to be, and so just asking them that simple question, what do you want your life to look like in the next 3 to 5 years? Because those of us who've been around know this is a 3 to 5 year game plan, right? But we've got to paint that vision for people that they can lock into that. That's what I locked into because I was trying to get out of my corporate job, right? So that's the only other thing I would add to that.
And you're talking about, I have always called this the book of evidence. There was a time you were struggling to get to the back of the book, and now you're in the front of the book there at $200,000. And that's what you're talking about, and I'm glad you brought up the enhancements to the comp plan, because the way it was, we've talked in the past about the difference between vitamins and cocaine. I know vitamins, it's a long-term play. You take them every day. It's about establishing health. Cocaine, I've never sampled, but it's about a quick buzz. And that's the difference. And that new person could come in, you say, we got a $5 bonus. They go, oh, okay. Hey, we got a $50 bonus. Oh, okay. Hey, we got a $500. Oh, because they don't know what they don't know. But what the company's done is really engage the senior directors and EDs and above to come in and really want to help you start that new person. That's the way it should be. Those who are trained in the know, in the money, in the wisdom should be helping. And you get that new person $100 in 20 days, that's big to them. You get them 200 more in 25 more days, that's big to them. But by fueling the EDs and senior directors, that's huge. And it's not a promotion, folks. It's in the plan. It's long-term and it's huge. And those who have been around know, and that's why you guys are lit up right now. So it's about a business, and they're talking about it's the difference between a business and a future, or like a sugar high,
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, you want the people who want a business and a future. Well, here we are, it's 9/23. It's the first weekend of the new quarter, this whole new start. May I go out to you one more time and just have you talk about, you've seen a lot, you've gone through a lot, you were in Dallas, you shared a lot, but kind of visioning forward, what you see based on being in Dallas and your knowledge, the vision, the future, where this can go for people. Just kind of share, if you both would, on that. We'd love that.
Yeah, for sure. So what I foresee for all of us is the ability to build, and I've been using these words now for 45 days. I say them often to Elizabeth Gardner and Mr. Carruthers, which is, we have now scalability and sustainability. Scalability and sustainability. And that is the only way that you build a big business here. And because of these enhancements that have been made, I believe that we really do have scalability and sustainability, because it's not a bonus program. It's not something that it's like, oh, okay, if someone's in the business for this 90 days, they can take advantage of it, but the people that come after that can't. It's not that. So we actually have the ability to create sustainable growth because it's bolted into the comp plan, y'all. Like, I know Mr. Drennan has said that a few times already, but I really want everybody to catch that. So everybody that we bring into the business and help them get properly launched is going to be able to really take advantage of this. This is an opportunity for directors. If you're a director right now, man, I would be gunning for senior director and ED. Like I would be like making it my singleness of mission and focus right now, because you now have the ability to really capitalize on all of the work that you're already doing, by the way, with less premium than the rest of us have been doing for the last several years, right? So that's a huge, huge deal. So that's really what I see is scalability and sustainability. And that is why many of us have been here. I'm 14 years, Mr. Hurst is 18 years, Mr. Drennan is over 20 years. That's why we're here. But I got to tell you, sustainability and scalability is more crystal clear now than it ever has been. Last thing I'll say, all of us have come across that sharp prospect that's like, give me the blueprint. Tell me what to do and I'll do it. If you've ever gotten that, put a 1 in the chat. Just tell me what to do. Like, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. You come across that sharp prospect and they're like, just lay it out for me, April, just lay it out. And before that could have been a little bit of a challenge, right? But now we have the blueprint. We've got it, okay? And so that is a huge deal. And by the way, I remember being at an MVP meeting about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago now. And we were like, man, can we get a blueprint? Like, we just need a blueprint. If we get a blueprint, we can attract higher quality prospects into the business. If we tell them, if you do X, right, with good retention, you're going to make an extra 50,000, an extra 100,000. And y'all, they laid that out at the ED level. Y'all remember those numbers, 7,000, 11,000 on the slides. We have the blueprint now. And so that's what I'm really excited about. Rob and I were talking about, we're like, man, we've got a list of reds that we're ready to talk to give them the blueprint, because that's what we've really, really been wanting. So those are my final comments. Over to you, Rob.
I love that. And Rob, before you go, because there was so much there, those 2 words, sustain, means you built something and it stays in place. I think of building something on concrete versus sand. That concrete stays. Scalability means now being able to go up 2nd floor, 3rd floor, 4th floor. You can just keep going, and whatever you add sustains. So April, those 2 words together is just awesome. Thank you for that. And I feel like before we might have had a misprint, and now we have a blueprint. So from misprint to blueprint. So Rob, how about you, sir?
Man, so much to unpack here, man. What I would say, you know, for number one, this is a comp plan that's really catered to those that want to build. Okay. And not just build, but grow in leadership. And here's the thing, it's going to require you to grow in your leadership to be able to build on that level. So personal development is going to be super critical for anybody who's like, hey, I want to really take this. Like somebody's just like, oh no, I just want to make an extra $500 a month. That's great. But for some that are like, hey, I need some really significant change, and I see this as a vehicle that could do so, you got the comp plan. You got it now. You got it. And even for, you know, I have friends, you know, across the company, you know, some that are just purely network, you know, some that are purely solutions, some that do both. And what I will tell you is in Dallas, when I was talking to some of my friends that do a lot of solutions, they were like, hey, you're about to see me recruit. You're about to see me recruit because I need all of it. I need all of it. And I think there's value wherever you are. I think there's value in learning all the different areas in the company. Not saying that you're going to do them, but there's certain things you major in, certain things you minor. I major in networking. I minor in small business, right? I'm really good at small business sales too. And so I can attract people from the recruiting side, but I can also attract people who enjoy dealing with small businesses. You know, Mrs. Hurst is really good in solutions and recruiting, right? So I think there's value when you can tap into all those areas, because we want a little bit of everything in our business, don't we? I mean, when you think of all the top earners in the company, they have a little bit of everything happening in their business. And when you have the ability to, you know, tap into these different areas, I believe it allows you to talk the language that's necessary for that particular prospect. Okay. But at the end of the day, you know, I think everybody's excited about the ability to build through this new comp plan. And so with that being said, we couldn't have picked a better opportunity. As she said, you'll be able to understand it without it changing. You know, when I first got started, when I was going to the weekly briefing, Mike Little was the guy that ran the events, and he had us fill out a chart every single week on how to advance the comp plan, the guests and associates. So that's how I learned, and it never changed, right? So I got really familiar with where I needed to go. I knew it was a 3 to 5 year game plan, right? So there wasn't I wasn't looking for some big bonus up front because it didn't exist. But what I was excited about was the longevity of what I could build and what could be sustainable and scalable. But more importantly, all I had to do was stick and stay, and I will get my pay, as the birds would say, with activity. And that has really been the key to our success. And so now I just feel like, now that things are starting to open up, like I almost like I can almost see like the sun rising, you know. And so there's fresh air, right? We smell the ocean. We smell it's clear. We have clarity, right? The skies are clear, and we have this wonderful comp plan that we all can take advantage of and get ourselves where we need to be for whatever reason we're here, so that we can be able to be the pioneers for those that aren't even here yet. And people will tell our story and say, man, there was a group of individuals in PPLSI. My gosh, I'm so thankful that they did what they did, because I'm able to do what I do today, right? But we get a chance to set the bar. We get a chance to create the standard. And this is our time. Our time is now.
I absolutely love it. And, you know, talking about the comp plan, which is now permanent, I believe it was on the Zoom the other night with Elizabeth Gardner and Brian Crothers, where they talked about, now we've got the right and left sides of the comp plan. So think of the right side as commissions. Memberships go in, commissions get paid. But now the left side, it's not a promotion. It's bonuses that are there at every level, but where they really kick in is senior director, executive director. And as we talked about, that's why you want to move that direction, to ultimately get access to those where you got a real business with longevity, sustainability, scalability.
Well, and if I can add this,
please,
Mr. Drennan, you know, just think about this for a second, though. Name any corporation, any big corporate Fortune 500 company that offers everybody big money up front. It doesn't exist. No. Right? You have to go through a process, right? And you kind of know what the track is. In order for me to get to that position, it's going to require me to do this, this, and this, so that I can be able to get that too. We kind of already know that. We instinctively know that. Could you imagine if, you know, every company just gave everybody $100,000 up front? It would be an absolute mess, right? Because you have people who probably haven't developed to be able to even handle that type of responsibility. Right. So there's a track for that. And I believe now we have a track. I mean, it's not a corporate thing, right? Because it's a volunteer army. The key is this, though. There is not one person that doesn't have the ability to be at the top. See, in corporate America, showing somebody what to do and how to do your job will end up helping you lose your job. Here, it's all about getting everybody to where they need to get to. So we need everybody pushing for senior director, executive director, and beyond. And everybody can do it. Nobody's going to hold you back. Everybody wants you to win, because when you win, we all win.
Man, I love that. And I know I've been around corporate America and small business America. And in my book, I write about what you just talked about, that in a company, you usually get maybe 30 days of training. Then you might have a 60-day trial period. But no, you're not giving those bonuses up front if you simply do step one. Here, you got mentors help you do step one, you get a bonus. Do step two, you get a bigger bonus. And soon you start getting the additional bonuses. So I'm going to ask you two to both read the chat. There's been some favorable comments. And if you would, just two quick things. I know we've got people on from maybe 15 states and Canada. And I know over my years, I've seen breakdowns at different times with law firms. There was a time there when I was living in Kentucky where Indiana had a lot of complaints. I know that California at different times, a lot of complaints. Texas, which I always thought was maybe the most rock solid of law firms, recently went through a period, a lot of complaints. Their managing partners retired. You had the COVID issues, attorneys working from home. There was chaos with some law firms. Colorado's had some real challenges. Canada's had some real challenges. Most people on here weren't in Dallas, maybe nobody besides you two. Would you speak to the person who's on here thinking, yeah, but can I trust this service? Can you speak to maybe how was that addressed, if at all, or just your thoughts on that? Ohio, by the way, had their challenges about 21 years ago, by the way. I don't think you were here yet.
Yeah, so I gotta tell you guys, when we learned, and you saw a lot of this on the show on Saturday, when we learned the level of involvement that home office has with the law firms and that they are continuing to enhance and improve upon, was extraordinary to me. I mean, there were like, we were watching the leadership conference via Zoom with our team, right? So we kind of streamed it so that we all could be in the chat, kind of communicating with each other. And I was seeing things in the chat like, man, I had no idea that the law firms are going through. I mean, y'all, just hearing Carrie Norris talk about the level of training that the lawyers get. I mean, I knew they went through training. I didn't know they went through training like that, right? Even like, if they receive a member dissatisfaction, that they have to go take a course, you guys. Do you know there is not a lawyer probably on the planet, unless they are a PPLSI attorney, that has to go through a course on how to better serve that member? That, I mean, I was flabbergasted, right? But I was so proud of the work that we are doing. And that's the reason why we're really leading the charge, right? When it comes to attorney service, right? Quality control. Because I can tell y'all right now, there are not other attorneys, whether it's another just law firm or legal plan out there, that is actually having their law firms go through courses to learn how to better serve their members. So that should give us a tremendous amount of confidence that what the company is doing to really enhance the product and provide even a better service to our members is extraordinary. So that's what I would share about that. Rob, I don't know if you have anything to add.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that, our company wants to do what's in the best interest for all of our members. It was something somebody said on stage. It may have been Don Thompson. I got it in my notes here somewhere. I don't know. I'll find it later. But it was something he said, and I was like, "Wow, that is so true." It was something about the attorneys. Yeah, I can't find it. But anyway, so they're going to do everything in the best interest. Now, is everything going to be perfect? Well, nothing's perfect. I've never been to any business or restaurant that was 100% error-free. It doesn't exist. I was looking at Walmart. Walmart averages 20 lawsuits a day, but yet the parking lot stays full. Right. So it's all about, what we give energy to. So what I do, I'm just going to share with you all, just a little bit different what Ms. Hurst said. I really empower my members to make sure you reach out to me. If there's anything, questions you have, reach out to me first, because sometimes it may be, maybe the member misunderstood something, right? Or maybe it could be, maybe somebody did wake up on the wrong side of the bed. We need to know that. And so, I let them know. We need to, if there is something, we need to let PPLSI know that, people. And I tell people there's a value in having an agent, because an agent you're going to have a personal relationship with that can, physically navigate the situation, right? Because we're incentivized to keep you on the books, right? And I let our members know that, like, I'm here for you. So if there's anything that comes up, I need to know that. And you know what that does? That builds trust. That builds connection. Even if something necessarily didn't go 100%, guess what? The first thing you're not thinking about is canceling. They're like, okay, you know what, they see that you're there in their corner and willing to make it right. And we've had situations. I'll give you one last example. I remember I have an associate that we recruited, and she had her aunt that enrolled for the service. Now, I don't know what happened. She tried to make a phone call to law firm. She was expecting a call back. I'm not sure what happened in the transaction with that. And so the associate reached out to me and said, Mr. Hurst, can you help me with this? Like, you know, I know they've always gotten back to me. I don't know what may have happened. I can't remember the whole situation, but there was something did not fall through. Okay. But here's what we did. We made a personal phone call to the law firm to kind of hit the reset. They apologized, said, man, I don't know how this happened. And it was probably, I think it was in the middle of them updating the technology, just little things, right? But here's what happened. Because she had a relationship with the agent and the agent had a relationship with me, we made a phone call to the law firm, and guess what? They made it right. They made it right. And not only did they make it right, she has definitely been very pleased with the service ever since. I just did actually a Zoom last month, and she came on and shared her testimony. She had so many testimonies, I had no idea. And she was very pleased, right? But what if we didn't make sure that we created that relationship, to make sure, because we're, again, it's not 100% perfect. There could be small things that can happen, but we can correct them. When I go to a restaurant and the food is cold, I go back and I say, hey, listen, my food is cold. Guess what? The right person is going to make it right. Oh, okay, you know what? Let's redo it, right? And guess what? We still do business with the restaurant. So I always tell people, like, if for some reason you had experience with the doctor and the doctor dropped the ball, you don't cancel your Aetna healthcare. You don't do that. You just, you try to figure it out, right? You don't cancel your insurance. So I try to help people understand that, this is something, they're in your corner. And if something happens and you have questions, make sure you call me so we can make sure we make it right. So anyway, that's my response to that. And I don't even know if that was in alignment with what you were asking, but those are kind of things I was thinking about.
Yeah, I so appreciate both of you. That was like a bonus question. But I know over time, again, the ebbs and flows. And, in my 24 years, I've had a whole lot of members that were unhappy for one reason or another that turned into absolute advocates because of the follow-up, and others that quit and canceled. But here's always been my message to that person who's bitching. And a lot of times that bitching is appropriate. I get it. But I always ask, okay, let's just step back for a minute and say, even with the experience you had, what are your options without this? Because you still got to make a call. And maybe you had an attorney on there that helped, because it happens all day, every day in this company. In your case, it didn't. But what's your alternative? To pay $1,000 and still not get help? I mean, so we're always better than the alternative. So, hey, you guys have been more than generous with your time. This is a yes/no question. Most people, or a lot of people, might not know you came in separate lines of sponsorship. You met and then got married. But so given that, you each came in with a different sponsor. Is it accurate to say both of you have passed up your sponsors?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So, and that was pretty emphatic. So here's why I say that. And we heard it over and over. You're one recruit away from exploding your business. So whoever recruited you, April, you, Rob, maybe they're not in the business, maybe they're directors, whatever, you blew their doors off. And aren't we all looking for that person who will blow our doors off? So
I actually re-recruited my sponsor.
Well, you probably both passed up 3 or 4 or 5 lines of your sponsorship. I get it. But that should give people hope. There are Aprils and Robs and Timmers out there. And, the majority of the superstars haven't even seen this company yet. So on behalf of Success Partners International, Rob, April, we thank you. I thank you. I thank you for all you've done and meant to me and our team over the years. And kudos to all you do. I hope you'll come back on again sometime.
Absolutely. We appreciate you, and all you have done to pour into us is the least that we can do. And thanks again for having us.
Well, thanks so much again on behalf of everyone. And Success Partners, we do this once a month. A lot of times we finish with the video. Tonight we're not, we've gone long, but I am going to finish the way we usually start. And that's with our signature message, where we can all say, I'm part of a growing team of entrepreneurs with a shared mission to protect and empower 2 million families and small businesses with Legal Shield's network of law firms and ID Shield's world-class identity theft services. What we do matters more than ever, and we're looking for help. With that, everyone have a great week, a great month. See you back on next month. Again, thanks to Rob and April Hurst. Take care. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. Thank
Good
you.
night.
Night, guys.
Thank
Good
you,
night.
April and Rob. It was dandy.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Night, Mr. Drennan.